Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
I'm just saying it's everything. I just think it's a little early for the pumpkins, that's all.
Well, how do you feel about it, Godwin? You like a pumpkin spice?
Well, there's a time for everything, Josh.
Yeah, here we go.
July's got a sunshine.
Yeah.
April has the showers. January's got the snow. And May brings all the flowers. November's got the turkey. December's got Christ.
Sure does.
But October's got that pumpkin spice. Pumpkin spice, yeah, a little in my latte, yeah, it would sure be nice, but keep it out of my shampoo, can I give you some advice? Yeah, go easy on the pumpkin spice. You know, I like it in a candle, I don't mind it in hot tea. I love it in my hooch, even though it's bad for me. I'm going out of my gourd, headed to rehab at Betty Ford. Cause I'm drinking vodka with that pumpkin spice. I'm addicted to this stuff. Yeah, everybody. Pumpkin spice. Yeah, sprinkle it on my cookie. Oh, don't make me ask you twice. But don't put it in your douche. No one wants to smooch a cooch that smells like pumpkin spice.
Speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself, says John. Yeah, all right now. Pumpkin spice, a pumpkin spice. Keep it out of my deodorant and my pizza slice. But for you freaks who want a blumpkin, try with a splash of pumpkin. Get sleazy with that pumpkin spice. Oh, the caves, they've got spelunkin'. Michael Jordan's got the dunkin'. James Brown, he put the funk in. Yeah, but October's got that pumpkin spice.
So nice.
Patty G, that's great.
Hey, it's A Drink with Derek, and my guest is the guy you just saw right there. He is a regular on the Bob and Tom Show. You've seen him on Last Comic Standing. He's also been on the Howard Stern Show. He's been in radio for forever, been in entertainment forever. He has multiple releases. I'm going to try to get them all, see if I got them right here. Excess and Moderation.
Correct.
Reindeer Games.
Correct.
Captured Live.
Correct.
Under the Bed.
Yes.
And now a brand new one coming out called
Out of Storage.
Out of Storage.
Yeah.
And that song that people just heard there, Pumpkin Spice, is on the new album. Pat Godwin, comedian in Indianapolis right now. I am here in Las Vegas. Good to see you, my friend. It's been a while.
Good to see you. We go way back.
We do go way back. Had some fun times, my friend. We'll get into that.
We have war stories together.
We have plenty of war stories. And like we were talking before we started recording, I mean, some of the best stories that you have is stuff that never sees the stage. I mean, we would get to the gig and just be exhausted from laughing our asses off in the car when you and I were traveling doing Irish comedy tour dates. And I mean, just the camaraderie that we had and working with Jim Paquette also, who was with us too, who's a very talented dueling piano player down in Florida still.
Mike McCarthy. All of us in a van going to radio, teasing you about all these silly things we'd have to do every morning. We know we have to do it, but we bust your butt about it.
It was so damn funny. I appreciate your time, man. It's great. Again, it's great to see you. I got to ask you a couple of quick questions. I always ask 3 random questions.
Okay.
Before we start off, so people can kind of get to know the guest here. I already know your favorite band is the Beatles.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me your least favorite band.
My least favorite band? Wow, geez, would have to be probably Kiss, something like that. Something that's over the top, just horrible. It didn't hit me like it hit other people, like my younger brothers. They just loved it. You know, I just absolutely hated it, and I do to this day. I don't like music like that. I like singer-songwriter stuff. I love Steely Dan, Randy Newman, Tom Waits. Yeah, it'd have to be, the easy answer would have to be Kiss. Yeah.
You mean Calling Dr. Love doesn't do the same thing for you as Strawberry Fields?
Let me think. No.
Worst gift that a girl gave you?
Worst gift that a girl gave me? That's a wonderful question. See, I'm a bit of a bad boy. I didn't get many gifts from the ladies. So worst gift probably when you get some item of clothing. I remember I've only dated or married Kims. And I think when you get an item of clothing, I think that's the death knell. When you get like, boxer shorts or something thoughtless, I'm waiting for maybe a new guitar. People know what I like. And a pair of jeans isn't exactly. Yeah, I think when Jimmy is just next door, my 10-year-old, I think when his mom gifted me jeans one Christmas, I went, I think she's going to dump me soon. Yeah,
I can't believe. First off, I can't believe that you have a child, and we'll get into that here in a second. But the third and final question, ever been arrested?
Yes.
And for?
Public intoxication. I was a passenger in Charlotte, North Carolina, and my buddy was driving erratically. He was taking me home because let's just say I was overserved after the Comedy Zone performance in Charlotte there. He was taking me back to the Hampton Inn. And he erratically pulled into a McDonald's, and the cops pulled him over, and he wouldn't blow. And when the cops had pulled us over, I said to him, "How many beers do you have?" He goes, 3. I said, "Well, make sure that you blow. You're going to be fine." He didn't take that advice. So what I thought I would do with, I think 5 Jamesons and me and 2 beers would be to get out of the car and to help him. And oh my God, what a crap show that was. These guys had their guns out, and I'm, oh, really? You're going to shoot me because I'm helping my friend Barney? I think I said Barney, and and it got bad. And then they said, "Hey, look, you're interrupting a police investigation." I said, "No, I'm trying to help my friend," and I got louder and louder and more. I felt bad because he was driving me home, and click. The next thing I know, it's 14 hours at the Mecklenburg County Jail, and Joel Pace from the Comedy Zone had to bail me out. Laughing his butt off when he picked me up.
Cops love it when you help your friends out.
Oh, that was the dumbest. I don't know if you've ever been handcuffed.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course, the great Tampa story. You and I were working at the Columbus Funny Bone.
Columbus Funny Bone.
And you didn't you have the "I'm drunk" T-shirts, or what? Didn't you have the funny T-shirt that had?
I had the T-shirts I had. It said "I heart booze."
I heart booze.
But I was doing a private gig,
right?
And I was driving back from Clearwater Beach to Tampa because the other comedian that I was with got lit up.
Comedian. Yeah.
Yes. And they picked me up at the hotel, and they were supposed to drive back and forth. Well, they ended up having a DUI not that long ago, and they still continued to keep on drinking. And so now I thought I was getting a safe ride home, and this is before Uber. So I just went, I'm good. Apparently I wasn't.
Well, you know what? This story could have had another coda to it, so to speak, another chapter, because you and I were in Clear Lake, and it was snowing. And
Clear Lake, Iowa. Yeah,
I had the rental car, and you and I had hung out a little bit at Clear Lake, Iowa, where, of course, the last Buddy Holly show. And we were going to all these places that had the memorabilia, and you and I were having a grand old time, and we were the last guys out, so to speak. And it's snowing. And I'm driving the rental back, and I go over like a curb or something, and we have cops follow us all the way up to our hotel, and we're both going. Well, we're both going down. I'm going. This is not good. We just did a karaoke. We had God knows what we had, and we were taking a chance we shouldn't have. But we just said, nah, keep it. It's snowing out, which is, if you're gonna do anything stupid, it might as well be snowing because But I went over. Yeah, I went over the curb.
I remember that now. I forgot that story until you just brought it up, and then I remember the cops following us home because there's nothing for them to do in Clear Lake, Iowa.
And my heart was like, oh, this wasn't that shortly after I'd only been a passenger in a car, and I've never really taken chances like that. But I took a chance that night. I'm thinking, oh, this is just stupid. But we got lucky and drove home very slow and safely. And
I have no idea how we got back and ended up not going to jail, especially after plowing into that curb. I mean, that was not like a little, oh, hey, I sort of bumped it.
No,
like when you're pulling out
behind us
out of a bank drive-through or something. That was, I remember that.
Way back.
God, I remember that.
That was exciting doing that Clear Lake show because they just kind of reopened, and we saw photos that night of Buddy Holly at his last show that have never been released. And those guys, I still haven't seen those photos that we saw from the owners of that club. That club had so much history, and sitting in that dressing room with those signatures was just awe-inspiring. I mean, to Waylon Jennings and all the guys, but the Big Bopper and all those guys that night, the day the music died,
No, that was a
that was incredible, wasn't it?
That really was. I mean, that was a great experience at the Surf Ballroom. I recommend anybody who's going through Iowa who's a music fan at all to make a detour into Clear Lake and spend some time there if you really appreciate history.
Well, you're such an ambitious guy. You put all that together. I don't know how you did it, but man, we were in hotels and doing our best trying to get the people out. And you were just starting off with the Irish comedy tour then, so it was really kind of really exciting. We tried everything. We had a ball.
We did. I mean, that was a great time, and I can't thank you enough for all your help at the time too. It was just we just had so much fun doing that stuff.
Theaters, casinos, and Upper Michigan.
Some were great, and some were not so great.
Shot, didn't we?
We did everything we possibly could to get people out there, and it was funny because you and I were just talking about this. We were up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, at Kewadin Casino,
right?
And which, if people aren't familiar with where this is at, it's right near Lake Superior, and so this is right near where the Edmund Fitzgerald went down, and this is when you wrote the lyrics to your song, The Rectum of Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I was in the van. It sits down below like the ship we all know, the rectum of Ella Fitzgerald. And you guys all busted out laughing. And then we all said, do you think that crowd would even know who Ella Fitzgerald is? And you said, it doesn't matter. It's still funny.
That song, I was dying because I'm thinking, there's a part of me that thinks this song is so damn hilarious. It can't not go well, but then there's a part of me going, well, what if there's like a grandson or a great grandson of somebody who died in this shipwreck, and all of a sudden they're going to burst into tears. So I had like zero consideration for anybody else's feelings in that scenario, and there easily could have been somebody there who had been,
kidding.
But we had so much fun. You've been in radio, you've been in comedy, you've been in theater, you've been in entertainment for a long ass time. I mean, since you were 20 years old.
Yeah, 10 years of serious music and a couple of serious albums. Well, The Excess of Moderation is a serious album. Then I had some independent projects, EPs and stuff in my late 20s. But yeah, 10 years as a serious musician until Todd Glass, when I was performing in Philly and lived in Philadelphia. Todd Glass saw me at a place called Smokey Joe's and says, you're really funny in between songs. You should try stand-up or at least do an open mic. He said to me, don't get me wrong, your songs are really good, but you're way more entertaining between the songs. And I remember at the time being a little offended. I was like, Todd, you've been coming every Wednesday night. And no, I like the songs, but you're really funny in between the songs. He was complimenting me, but I remember going, comedian, that's not my aspiration. But darn it, if he wasn't right, he took me to an open mic in Philly, and boom, every door just busted open. And I got the morning zoo job, like right off the bat, without even knowing what I was doing. The guy in the morning zoo, John DeBella, said, hey, can you do this on a daily basis, these funny songs? And I just lied and said, yes. I wrote a check for something and there wasn't any money in the bank, so I ended up working my butt off to learn how to open up more and be funny. And then I was working every weekend and finally, I finally grew into becoming a musical comedian. And it ended up, being way more, the singer-songwriter thing was just not happening in bars. I would do all my own original music. And, that can be really tough for an audience and the performer trying to make a living doing that. But when you're doing comedy, you're either connecting or you're not. I mean, So
and anybody that sees you and when they see you and they see the guitar, and then, a lot of purists in the business go,
sure.
Yeah, they go, it's a guitar act. I'm like, no. I'm like, if you have not seen Pat Godwin, it is not like you're not doing just parody songs, which anybody can write in the car. Yeah. If you've got if you have any level of imagination at all. And so, I mean, your stuff is original, funny, hysterical.
Oh, thank you.
Comedy songs. No, seriously, Short. Every single show that we've done together. I mean, I sit in the back and watched every single show and laughed my ass off.
Same with you. Yeah, same with you. You're a true performer, and you kill it up there. But man, and we really fought for everything that we got up on stage. I like people like that. That's why I would also watch you. And the album is all original. Now for the show, my day job, there'll be throwaway things that I'll do that are of a parody nature, or I'll do an impression of. And I have no problem doing those. But
Right.
I don't really record the parodies. I do them as throwaways, and even in my act, I'll do a vocal thing or whatever as a throwaway. But the guys who do the 3 minute, trying to make that funny, all never entertained me. It was always guys like Haywood Banks, Henry Phillips, and people like that. Tim Cavanaugh, for example, has like three things that are so. I wish that I had written. I love people like that. I've never been a fan of the guitar act that gets all the bad rap.
No, exactly. Now
Without me, yeah.
well, now you had started. I mean, you were born into. It wasn't like you had to talk your parents into doing what you're doing. I mean, your parents were both in theater.
Yeah, my dad went to Notre Dame, and he started off teaching there. Then got the drama job back east where he was from in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And my mother was an actress. He had met her getting his master's at Purdue. So I grew up in a theatrical family. But the funny thing was that because they weren't kind of getting along, and it was a dysfunctional Irish Catholic family. I'm the oldest of 6. I ended up becoming a complete jock. That was my way of rebelling. Don't get me wrong, the piano and everything else took over. That became the passion. But I was an obsessive high school football player. I held our pole vault record in high school for 20 years. When I was a sophomore, we went 11-0. And if there was a state championship back then, we probably would have been picked. I was a part of a really incredible sports program. And then as a junior, I heard Elton John, in my car. And then that's when my dad's side and my mom's side, that's when the genetics totally took over. I mean, I wasn't in school plays. I wasn't in the chorus, but I would secretly sing in the car, and I'd secretly play piano, like during lunch hour at school, and things like that. And then I just ended up becoming an around the clock, learning how to play piano guy. And everything just changed for me completely. And I ended up being a theater major at my dad's school. I went to college where my dad taught.
Now, what plays were you in?
Well, I was in Romeo and Juliet. I played Romeo's friend Benvolio. I was in The Apple Tree. I had the lead in that. And then after about 2 years of theatrics, I thought, I got this. My parents were divorcing, and I went to Los Angeles as a kid, probably 18 or 19 years old, my first time going.
That's insane.
Yeah. I'm basically homeless until I got the Mitzi Gaynor job as a background singer. She was the lead in South Pacific, and I don't know if you remember. I mean, she's an old timey actress, singer lady, and I was one of her background singers. And we had done.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, that's so cool.
$500 a week. I bought a Triumph Spitfire, and then when that all ended, I was pretty much homeless, and I was washing dishes for room and board at the Kipling retirement home on Wilshire Boulevard in LA when I was 18. Yeah, homeless.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you say that you've been in entertainment for literally since you were 20 years old, except a 2-week stint at Chili's.
Actually, it was TGI Fridays.
TGI Fridays.
In Tampa, yeah.
Okay, because Wise Guys broke your wrist.
Well,
what's that story?
I was dating a woman who was still in radio, so I have to be very, very careful. She is still a DJ, and she was a DJ in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And I don't know if you've seen The Irishman, the movie. Have you seen The Irishman, Martin Scorsese's?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, Buffalino was her next door neighbor. So Buffalino, played by Joe Pesci in the movie, I would see that guy mowing his lawn, and he was called Uncle Russell, the Joe Pesci character. And I dated the woman who lived right next to the Joe Pesci character, nestled in Kingston, Pennsylvania, is where all let's call them the mafia for lack of a better name, came in to settle, or the Cosa Nostra. They came in to settle.
I like you say they came to settle, like they were on covered wagons.
Well, these guys were in the twilight of their careers, and they settled in Kingston, Pennsylvania, which isn't a hotbed of mob activity. It's where these guys went to kind of have, relax now after they've done their dirty work, so to speak. But trust me, they're still pretty tough guys. And I dated the daughter of a person who lived next, and I was this poor Irish troubadour working all over Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, opening up for people, playing in every bar, doing my own songs, releasing EPs. I had a minor regional hit called Circle City, and I was gaining some traction, but I was just dirt poor, and they just didn't see the Irish troubadour making $100 at a bar, having it work out to be with the daughter. So I got accosted, let's call it, in a parking lot in Kingston, Pennsylvania. They had asked me, was that you up there performing just now? You're pretty good. You Pat Godwin? And I thought I was getting a compliment, and I got a cracked wrist. And I was like, whoa. And I fled to Tampa, and I changed my name to Biff Dirkwood.
What?
Yeah, I worked until my arm healed. I worked at a TGI Fridays on Hillsborough under an assumed name. I didn't even know how I got away with that. I think I may have had to tell them the truth, and because I don't think I would have got a job without any kind of ID. I don't remember exactly what I did, but I called myself Biff Dirkwood once I started playing in the Tampa area. I would do piano bars and stuff and called myself Biff Dirkwood. And then finally that all blew over, and her and I have remained friends, and we laugh about it to this day. But yeah.
How in the hell did we go all this time knowing each other? I never knew that your pseudonym was Biff Dirkwood. That's hysterical.
Yeah.
When did you feel safe to call yourself Pat Godwin again?
I came back to the area and did some shows. I think the father was none too pleased about that. He's no longer with us. And when I do this book, I still won't name names, but I would tell the story. It became pretty fine to do it about a year later,
That's beautiful.
She also fled to Tampa. She got a job at a radio station there. And I honestly went down and lived with her for a little bit. And when her parents came to visit her, I'd have to hightail it to some friend's couch for a while and, and hide out. Yeah, but you have to understand, I had only worked as a lifeguard and a dishwasher before I started playing music. So for me as a waiter, I think you know me personally. I was the worst waiter that TGI Fridays has ever had. And you couldn't pick a tougher organization to work for, because there's a 2-week training period. You get rated every day.
Yeah.
It's no place to just do a crappy job. No,
it's corporate. I mean, if you were at some mom and pop diner and they were like, I like Dirkwood's music, he can keep working here. Corporate doesn't give a shit about your Biff Dirkwood album.
Though, it's funny, and the bartenders and the waiters didn't know of my background or anything. They just knew this bad waiter Biff guy, and they treated me like crap. And then the band from the Last Waltz, I don't know. I had opened for them back east a couple of years earlier, and they had located me, heard I was in Florida, and asked if I would open down there for them. I think they were close to the Tampa area. So the band, up on Cripple Creek, all those guys.
Sure.
I opened for them, and everybody from the restaurant had showed up because they were huge fans of the band. So you can imagine their surprise when the 20-minute opening act is the crappiest waiter on the staff.
Is the guy that keeps jacking up fajita orders.
And believe me, things changed at the restaurant from then on. I may have worked a total of 2 months, if I'm being honest. Yeah, that was horrible. Yeah, everybody should do a waiting job once in their life to understand how stressful that job is.
Absolutely, that's brutal. Right? That's brutal. I mean, to understand what those people go through and deal with on a consistent basis, I have a whole new level of respect for anybody in the service industry.
It'll teach you how to be nice to people. Just wait tables once in your life. I was telling my son that the other day. Nothing could be harder. And you see people at their worst and still have to be nice. It's very similar to what we're doing. We see some people at their worst, bachelorette parties at their worst, drunken people at their worst, and we have to not only get through it but make that funny. So,
there's also plenty of times when we're going through stuff. And as comedians, entertainers, and it doesn't matter whatever you have going on in your personal life, you're hired to do a show, and you've got to be there. Lights go on, turn on the microphone, and be funny. Okay, I just got done yelling with my ex. I just got done having finding out just bad crap that happened in my life. And so all of a sudden, you've got to turn that switch on, and no one cares about anything in your personal life.
My ex would plan it for 5 minutes before the showtime, I think, to send that text. No, you can't have your son this weekend. Son of a, ladies and gentlemen.
Before we get into you having a kid, I got to ask you this. You and I have had plenty of drinks through the years. And the dumbest booze-induced thing that you've done outside of, unless there's something that tops you getting arrested in Charlotte, for trying to help out your buddy.
Well, how long is this podcast? How long is this broadcast? How long? I mean, I think you can trace every dumb thing back to that, because the Irish, it kind of, well, anybody, but I mean, it really opens us up and makes us sometimes funnier. But then it also adds this dangerous aspect to your life. Don't get me wrong. Those are the best stories. But I mean, I got married in Jamaica after only knowing a woman maybe 3 weeks. That may have been her name was Kim. She's a lawyer now from Philadelphia, but she was a radio fan. I was on WMMR's Morning Zoo. I met her on a Jamaican trip, and then we had 2 weeks off by ourselves in Jamaica. It was our actual vacation. I had her stay behind, and we got the rum down there is the overproof rum, very strong. And in 3 weeks I was married. That lasted 7 months.
And you were back in Philadelphia at the time.
Back in Philadelphia, and now married, and we weren't getting along, and it was her last year of law school, and yeah.
I can't even imagine that you have a kid now, and I remember meeting the mother of your son.
Yeah.
Like the first weekend you guys got together, we were in Holly, Michigan, and we were at this little mom and pop motel that was just a dump. And you were telling me we were there on a Friday and Saturday night doing the Irish Comedy Tour, the first weekend road gig ever with the Irish Comedy Tour.
Oh, was it?
And you came up to me and you said, "This is horrible. I got my girl coming up, and it's the first time we're spending some time together, and I have diarrhea."
I got sick. I don't know what. And I remember having to go to the bathroom in the room, and there was no lobby in this crappy Holly hotel. I remember the pool. I can't believe that she even hung out with me after she saw where we were staying. It was like the worst. And I've driven past there since, and I still laugh. But yeah,
it's hilarious.
I had to go to use the restroom. I had to blow up our bathroom, and she was so sweet and nice about it. She's a nurse, and that's what made me kind of go, this is a pretty cool person, because normally if I would have taken my business to the lobby, because I was really, really sick for some reason. And I had a horrible stomach, let's just call them stomach issues. And yeah, we ended up we were together quite a while, 6.5 years. And we had Jim, we were married 4 years, had Jimmy. Yeah. I adopted her daughter.
And he's 10 years old now.
Jimmy's 10. Yeah. Yeah.
How is that raising a kid in the entertainment industry, and especially going through this pandemic when you pretty much had to homeschool the kid?
Well, it was hard enough being away and making a living like we have to do. It's hard to keep anything going, a relationship, let alone when you have children involved. We moved back east, and I was still on the road so much. It kind of hurt, when Jimmy was a baby. And then as he starts to get older, you don't want to miss any of that stuff. And then when you throw divorce into the mix and the arguing over the time you're going to now spend with your child, it cut that pie up even more, where I wasn't seeing him. So it was really difficult on me, especially. I mean, I missed him so much. I did the cruise stuff for 3 years, where I'd be in the Mediterranean, in Rome, for 21 days, and in Venice, and just like not even enjoying it because I missed him so much. Now I'm in one place. I have this job in the radio show, and I get to see Jimmy. I have him 1 week. His mom has him 1 week. So it's sort of normal now, but it's never been normal. So it's sweet right now. Things may change a little, but he comes to gigs with me, and he does a little shtick with me. He sings background vocals on one of the songs, and he kills. He does his own little blues number. He's really funny. He's charming. He's a great kid.
What's it like, you being a father? I mean, do you consider yourself to be like your father, or did you try to go the complete opposite?
Well, I'm a reckless person. I've been a reckless person. I've enjoyed writing about that. I've had. Yeah,
issues. I mean, you're a hot mess. I mean, I wouldn't, I wouldn't have thought in a million years that you would have had a kid.
I
wouldn't have given you a puppy.
I wouldn't give me a plant. I wouldn't give me I wouldn't gift me a cactus plant. I honest to God, I was self-absorbed. It was all about, I loved the work, but I did not like the travel. So I never traveled well. So if I was gone for more than 2 weeks, I honest to God would crack. and I would drink after shows and then come home sick. And, you know, it just always bothered. I never didn't like being rootless like that, but I loved the work. So, yeah, I never brought a child into any relationship for that reason. So it took me till I was, 49, 50 years old to be with Kim, Jimmy's mom, to by both of us wanting to have a child, because I had more roots because I had her. And then, you know, Jimmy, we didn't have Jimmy 2.5 years and we got divorced. So it was like I never wanted that for him. And I thought, oh gosh, this is, you know, because the divorce that my dad and mom put us through was brutal, and I was the oldest. I can't imagine what it was like on the youngest. So yeah, I feel a lot of shame and a lot of regret over that. But you know, man, I hung in there. It's great. It's great being a dad. I love being a dad, and I love that little guy. He's just he's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
How much control does he have over the house with you?
100%.
Because we were talking before we started recording about, you know, how our dads were when we grew up, and there was no decision. It wasn't like,
no.
Here is what we're thinking about doing, Derek. What would you like to do? It's like, no, this is what we're doing. This is what we're eating. This is when we're eating. And if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you.
You know, what's funny is I'm home. We're homeschooling him, his mom and I, and I never counted on this happening. I'll say, Jimmy, we're going to do math now. No, we're not. I'm going to be on the iPad. I'm doing an art project. I don't want to do it. And I thought to myself, well, Jesus, what do you do as a parent? He just said no. I can't. What am I going to do? I just smack him into he says stuff to me.
Yes.
He says stuff to me. I go, if I ever said that to my dad, I'd be in the room for 2 weeks, no TV. You know, I've taken the iPad away from him for maybe 3 minutes. Like, I'll take it away and I feel, here it is. I crack. I'm a softie. I think the approach that I have by just being honest and go, look, I don't want to yell at you. I don't want to take things away from you. I don't want to deny you, but I want you to grow up to be a young man. You're real smart. That doesn't mean you can. Like the other day, he goes, Dad, I think I pretty much know everything. We don't need to do stuff today. I said, Jimmy, there's a lot of stuff that you don't know. But what they absorb.
This is clearly your kid.
What they absorb media-wise through the iPad, and he knows that thing. He does all of his art on there. What he absorbs is absolutely the level that he's learning and the quick nature of it. His vocabulary is insane. He tests great. So I kind of give him a lot of leeway. And then we got to read some regular books that fourth graders are supposed to read. And then his mom handles the math stuff and things like that, and the science stuff and the biology. And he's been doing some recording programs. He's been singing loops and layers and learning a little keyboard stuff. And he likes a lot of that. But the things that he doesn't like, it's very difficult to get my stubborn son. And I thought I was stubborn, man. He is something else. He is. Jimmy, brush your teeth. Nah, I don't want to.
I don't think so.
What am I going to do? If I said that to my dad, and Jimmy curses like a sailor, and he knows it makes me laugh, and so he'll, and he never curses in a mean way, like go F off. He'll just do it to be funny, but every now and then he'll get a little cranky, and I go, my God, if I had ever said that to my dad,
if I ever told my dad I wasn't going to brush my teeth, my dad would have solved the teeth problem.
Oh my gosh,
done.
I mean, my parents grew up where you got the belt, your pants were down, and you got whipped. It was just the way it was when I was growing up, and it's not the way it is now in my family and the way we raise our kids. But you know what? You kind of go, man, I'm all out of tricks here. You know.
I mean, you still enjoy a good spanking. Come on.
Oh, of course I do. From the horse on the road, I love a good spanking. May cost anywhere up to $50, $60 some nights, but I have that imprint.
And 50 or 60? What are you getting them on Groupon?
I get them on the corner. I have that imprint of a good spanking from my parents.
You've been on the Bob and Tom show, been involved with that show for how many years now? When you first came on?
Oh, I first came on in maybe 2000, and I'd been a part of 8 of their albums, and I did work briefly for them. I was a writer, and I lived here. I was based out of Indy, and then I would be like a very frequent guest. And then around the time that Jimmy was born, we just decided to move back east and just go out on my own. And then now I'm back in the fold, so to speak. Bob had retired, so Tom was looking for ways to augment the show, change the show. He got Josh Arnold from St. Louis involved as a co-host, and then I was next. And then now his son is a new addition. So we have a pretty well-oiled, hard-working team in there. Do you know Josh Arnold at all? Have you met Josh?
Well, I met him when actually when through you, when I ended up popping in and doing a spot on your show. You were actually out of town when I was working over at Crackers in Indianapolis. Well, and I stepped in there. Josh is super nice guy, very, very funny.
Yeah, very funny. And of course, Chick's the mainstay, Chick McGee. But Tom initially hired me to do, hey, the cruise ships were still going, very lucrative. You can do whatever you want, but when you're in town, you're on the show, 7 to 9, let's say. And then when these things started to work and Tom and I would write together, he knew that I would get up early. I'd get down there and a lot of material would be crafted. He kind of went, man, why don't you come in on Monday through, he stretched it out a little bit. We changed my salary. Then at one point, 2.5 years ago, he says, why don't you just do like Saturday stuff and I hire you full time and you get here at 4 a.m. and we throw things around together and we're good to go from 6 to 10. And that's the way it's been. Then, of course, the pandemic hit and that became the luckiest decision I ever made in my life, No,
it's fantastic. I mean, that the show hands down is probably, if not the most successful syndicated show.
Yeah.
That's out there. I mean, what was it at one point in time? I don't know how many stations are on now. Like 160?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely up there in those kind of numbers. Syndication.
How is it now? Well, how is it now? Because I mean, you're a part of the show and radio obviously is a struggling medium right now. I mean, what needs to be done, in your opinion, in order for radio to survive?
Well, you know what? The 6 to 10 people, the morning shows, they're still thriving in a way. For a while, there weren't as many people driving to work. So I think things came down to 60%. Advertisers came down. A lot of concert venues that would advertise for us locally and that kind of stuff, that's gone. So they had to rework it, so to speak. Where we are at Bob and Tom, it's just us at Bob and Tom. The other side of the building that used to be full of salespeople for the mother station, which is Q95 out of Indianapolis, there's no one over there. It's just been us. So you have morning shows that are still thriving, maybe 5 or 6 of them. And as far as the classic rock radio format, rather, and things like that, I don't know honestly how they're surviving. I do know that the advertising dollars are still there and they're coming back slowly, but man, it was a little scary there for a while. We all held on, and Tom is such an ambitious workaholic kind of a guy. He kind of has the right team around him to sell the show properly. But if we would lose a station in a market, they'd pop up across the street and that kind of a thing. Let's say you lose the station in Fort Wayne, they'd end up on another one in Fort Wayne. So they just kept moving and trucking along. But with podcasts and with people getting their
podcast, satellite radio, people
Spotify,
just downloading
Pandora.
stuff. Yeah, Spotify, everything else, absolutely.
But when these guys have built up such a brand, people waking up in the morning they can get on the app. The app is monetized now. They can listen to the show. I think we're replayed 2 or 3 times on the app a day. Then they play like older shows. And then we're on live every morning on live stream. We were on YouTube for a while. So, and we have a local TV show. So they've found different ways to monetize it and also stay this behemoth, this monster of a morning show, and keep the brand. And Tom has no ego. When Bob had left, you'd think it would have been called something different, but he didn't care. He kept the brand. He just kept calling it Bob and Tom because that's what people were familiar with. It didn't bother him at all that Bob wasn't even involved anymore. And we have a completely different show now. Bob leaving was a huge blow. It took a big chunk out of their yin and yang dynamic. But now Tom with his son and the way they argue and have fun. I mean, Willie is 27 years old, so he's the woke individual on our program. And then God, everybody else has I know, and everybody else has But he's the one who kind of like brings his dad around to his way of thinking on the show, and they'll have funny arguments about stuff.
Right.
But we have to be very, very careful also with cancel culture, because things have changed drastically, and we're told what we're not really allowed to joke about, and we're still doing fine. I mean, we find plenty of ways to poke fun at ourselves as opposed to others.
Well, now who was telling you what you couldn't joke about? Was it corporate?
No, it's instinctually when you see the climate change everywhere, and comedy grows. I
just didn't know if there was something that happened, if there was some listener what called in and said, "Hey, this is not appropriate," and you're like, "What? I didn't think this was that bad."
They used to make fun of politics and had a funny show. If Clinton got in trouble with Monica Lewinsky, that'd be good for a nice little run, as everyone. That was morning radio's bread and butter, that kind of stuff. But when Trump came along, it was so down the middle and so polarizing that no one wanted to lose half your audience. Like if you see a comedian do an anti-Trump joke or do even a pro-Trump joke, well, you've just lost half your crowd.
Right.
We just instinctual. We just kind of knew, let's just be funny in other ways. This is too polarizing.
That's why. Yeah, because you watch late night talk shows during Trump's presidency, and it was just like, I mean, the writer's room was simply just doing nothing but writing anti-Trump material. Yeah. And, I'm watching this, I'm like, it didn't matter whether it was Stephen Colbert or Seth Meyers or Jimmy Kimmel or any of those guys. And I'm watching this going, do you have anything else? I mean, it was literally like watching an obese comedian go up on stage and do nothing but fat jokes.
And as much as we like all of those people for what they, I think Colbert is a very funny guy, but I thought the same thing too. I thought, wow, that seems a little too lopsided. There are other things to have fun with. And so we just went a completely different direction and says, you know what, we're not touching politics for right now. And we're just going to have a fun show in a different way. And that's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, no one actually came in and said everything. We just we'd have lunches and stuff and hang out and talk. And that's how it would happen, just kind of naturally.
Right. Yeah, it's good if it happens organically and there's not some corporate, entity coming down and saying, okay, listen, no more songs about X or no more jokes about this.
Well, we don't make fun of like clients or possible clients. So, as much as you may want to make fun of a fast food place, fast food people are a big radio client. So there are certain things
they are.
There are certain things that you may have a funny thing for. I've written things. I wrote a Raisin Song because Josh hates raisins, so I thought I would take this funny anti-raisin thing, and I spent some time on it. I was going to do an Italian character, and it was called Grapes Are Great. It was all about how good grapes are and raisins. He hates raisins. I don't like raisins. It didn't dawn on me that we're like number one in Fresno, the raisin capital of the world. And Tom's, after I spent days on this song, I was just ready to knock their socks off. And I come in and I kind of present it for Tom because I'll preview things for him at 4:30 in the morning.
Sure.
Hey, I got this great thing. It's my Italian character, Infecto Quarantino. And so I do this bad Italian accent. And it's a really sort of it's funny in the show because anything that I do character-wise are always like if I do my Latin Mexican character, it's horrible impression. That's the point. So my Italian guy, and I ran it by him, and he's just, I could tell, this is funny. Why isn't he? We're on in Fresno. The Raisin, and I said, oh. So certain things that you kind of want to do that would work, that's where you take a corporate stance.
That takes some awareness that he obviously knows. I mean, he knows the markets that you guys are in. I mean, and he's an extremely intelligent guy. I mean, he's on it. So, I mean, I'm sure he knows every single market that you guys are in. And so, the fact that the 1s and 0 binary code and his eyes were flipping, going, you know what? Fresno, Raisin Capital, can't do it.
He has the right side funny brain too, but he's also, he's in on all the business meetings that we're not. Josh, for example, is angry at Taco Bell because they got rid of the Mexican pizza. So
I'm pissed too. Tell Josh I'm on his team. It's an outrage.
Well, Josh,
why would you get rid of that?
Josh was hilarious one day about never going there. And all of a sudden we get what's called the, I don't know if I'm saying something out of class, but Tom will do this. That means this. I'm doing the scissors. Cut it. And I know Josh was killing him with this anti Taco Bell thing, and he got the cut it. and it's Taco Bell's a client, and you got to leave your own. You got to leave that comedy on the cutting room floor. Josh had more. He had a whole chunk on Taco Bell, and you had to just let it go.
You had a great story about working with Don Mclean, the guy
jackass
behind the song American Pie. And ironic that we were, sitting there literally in Clear Lake, Iowa in the Surf Ballroom the day, the place where the music died. Don Mclean, I had heard plenty of stories about him just being a classic douchebag.
The biggest dick of all time. Of anybody I've worked with, I've met Clapton. McCartney came in our studio in Philadelphia. All these biggies couldn't have been nicer or more gracious. And then this one-hit wonder guy turns out in my whole career to this day to be the biggest douchebag.
What happened?
I was at the station in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, where I would perform, do my own music on one side. They'd have a concert area, and I'd get a chance to open up some of the big acts, and it was a real thrill. And I thought I actually was looking forward to opening up for this guy who has this iconic pop hit. It's long. It still worked. It was number one. It's with huge sing-along chorus. I personally was never a fan of that song because everybody in the club sang that, and they'd get the audience to sing along. And I never would do American Pie. I would do my own stuff. So I hated the song. I thought it needed a bridge. And Don Mclean always denied that he would. It was actually goofing on Dylan and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. He's always denied that because it turns out that those people in the '60s were actually pretty good. They didn't kill the music. It flourished. But I still thought, well, I'm going to open up for him. And he had like a mini band, like he had a bass player and a guitar player and a drummer that was backing him up. And these guys couldn't have been nicer. And I'm like, oh, I'm in show business. We share one dressing room. I'd forgotten my tuner, so I asked one of the guys in the band if I could use the tuner, and I'm using the tuner. And hey, I'm hanging out with the band. This is pretty cool. Don McLean's band. And then in walks Don McLean, and he says, real snotty, "Who are you?" Oh, I said, "Mr. McLean, I'm your opening act, and my name's Pat." And he goes, "Well, Pat, what are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, this is the green room." "Is it your green room?" I said, "Yeah, we're all back here." No, you're not back here. I don't want you back here. Just you go somewhere else to do your own little thing, whatever it is you do.
Wow.
And then I went, what? And then all this Irish just came out of me, my temper. And then, but I want, there's many things I wanted to say, like, American Pie needs a bridge, you son of a, the song sucks anyway. I'm so sick of your song. You've never, but I just went, okay. And I said,
what was the band saying? I guess they can't really say anything. Here's their boss coming in, and they're just kind of sitting there going, "Oh shit, sorry."
I stood up to him and I said something. I mean, you got to be. I said, "You got to be kidding me, right? I'm supposed to be in here, and you're not allowing me." And I said, "Man, you're a dick." And they giggled, and that's when I knew that I was right. I did. And then I went and I told the owner, Jerry Sisk. I said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I just called your headliner a dick." And he goes, and Jerry Sisk goes, "I've been wanting to call him a dick all day. He's been asking for this in the green room and that." He goes, I'm glad you called him a dick." And so when Jerry Sisk said that, it gave me some sort of. So I do my 20 minutes. Keep in mind, it's my hometown crowd of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. I got Parky Cunningham, my friend Tim Cross. Everybody is there from my high school is there. They're kind of rooting me on. I'm the hometown boy opening.
Sure.
Don McLean, and I'm doing my stuff, and I'm not really focused. I say, I got to tell you, Pete. I got to tell everybody. Something happened backstage, and I said, and I would go into another song, and I thought, you know what, go for it. I have like 5 minutes left. And I said, I'll tell you what just happened backstage. What you're about to see a huge asshole. And I told them the story. I said, what you're about to see is one of the biggest dicks in show business. I've opened up for Dave Mason, Dave Bromberg, Leon Redbone, all these, Warren Zevon. They were all wonderful. Many of you were here. This guy's a dick. And what do you say? I just ruined his closing song, because what else is he's gonna close with American Pie? And I just made up like, Don McLean is a huge effing prick. He's a big, and I got everybody to sing along. And I noticed this shadowy figure at the top of the stairs. The stage was here, and the stairs that went up to the dressing room right here. And I realized that he's watching me, just glaring. And I played it for all it was worth. This place was singing along, you know. And I said, "Good night. Try and enjoy your asshole headliner, Don McLean." I said, "Now that you know the story, try to enjoy this insufferable prick." And I walked. Then I walked by him up the stairs, and I went to the dressing room because that's where my guitar case was. And I looked at him and I said, "Am I allowed to curse on this show?"
Yes.
And I looked at him. I said, "Hey, don't fuck with me in my town." And I walked, and I got my case, and I walked out. And Jerry Sisk, the manager, was all by himself in the lobby. And as I walked by him, I was going home. He went like this. He gave me the slow clap. And so I went to the bar that was next door. And then when the show came out, everybody from my high school was like, "Holy shit, that's the funniest thing." They still talk about it to this day because he goes, he really couldn't recover. You shook him. The first 3 songs, he didn't really know what to do because we all just kind of like hated him for that story.
I love that story. It's funny because we had done a show in a theater I think it was in New York, and long story short, Don McLean was there before we got there, about a week and a half before. And I had asked the theater manager, because I knew your story about working with Don McLean. And I go, "How was Don McLean?" He goes, "Dick." He goes, he comes walking off stage, and the guy who was running the theater like goes up to Don and, you know, sees him, you know, as they're passing. He goes, hey, great job. And Don just goes storming back to the dressing room. He goes, "I don't do encores." That's all he said to the guy. The guy didn't ask him to do an encore. He just comes walking back to the dressing room. "I don't do encores." What are you going to do? You have one song.
You know, when I posted that thing on Facebook, there was a guy who opened for him way longer than I only did it once. He did it for a year. He put his story in there. He's in the radio business now. His story was more horrific than mine because he got abused every night. Because this was someone that had sent tapes to Don of his own original stuff, and Don thought it was, you know, he was good enough to kind of open up, but then he just was horrible to him, and so he wrote his story. So in my Facebook story, I've added the link to that guy's story because he'd been with him he was on a bus with the poor guy for 6 months and said it was just the worst. And Don McLean actually had to reply to him because I guess he was on the radio in his area of New York, wherever Don McLean lives now.
That's horrible. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you've had a ton of radio guests that you've worked with through the years. And I know you talked about really enjoying people like Peyton Manning, who'd been in the studio with you and stuff like that.
Yeah, great.
You've got to have some douchebags that came through that surprised you. You thought they would be fun, and they just turned the other way.
You want 3?
3 of them.
Billy Crystal in Philadelphia. I was a fan who didn't love When Harry Met Sally. And we were told that we weren't allowed to ask him about the "You Look Marvelous" character or anything like that. And we're like, well, okay. And we had poor little intern that came in and was said to Billy, "Hey, Billy, you look marvelous," which is one of his characters.
Sure.
And he just got pissy. And with us, like on the air, what was that all about with your intern? Didn't I say not to? Well, Billy, it was a catchphrase you had on SNL. Everybody loves it. I don't know what. And it got really, really weird. And he just couldn't have been more of just an ass. You know, he wasn't. Then he wasn't funny. And I've heard this from other radio, even on the Bob and Tom show. I heard that one of their interviews with him was kind of awkward over the phone. That he just, you know, these guys that have been doing it so long, they just get to a point where sometimes they're pissy.
Right.
And he has no reason to be bitter. He's like one of the most successful comedians of all time. So that kind of threw me.
Yeah.
The second one would have to be another really famous comedian. I never got along when he did our show 5, 6, 7 times with Jerry Seinfeld. He just
really.
Are you still there? My phone did something goofy.
I'm still here, but you are. There we go.
My phone.
There we go.
Every time that Jerry Seinfeld did our show, he just was weird. And like the very first time I'd met him, he had just done the Carson show. It was before his TV show. and he was on Johnny's couch. And my guy said, "Hey, give us a jingle about what it's like to be on Johnny's couch." And I wrote this in 5 minutes. Something about Johnny's couch.
Sure.
And it was a setup, a promo song for him. It wasn't supposed to be hilariously funny. And I went to the green room right before Jerry had come on, and he goes, "Are you the one who did the parody about the me being on the couch?" I said, "Well, it was actually just a stupid little original song." And he couldn't have been more condescending. And I remember I just remember, I didn't like the guy. I was like, I don't like anything about his attitude.
Right.
And then we would do these shows from the Trump Plaza every year, and he and I shared a limo to Atlantic City, which is an hour away. Philadelphia was huge in Atlantic City. Our radio station was rather, and he and I shared this limo with our female limo driver that drove us all around for any kind of event. We all befriended her. We were very sweet with her. She was like one of the gang. And
sure.
He was a womanizer kind of guy. He had that vibe about him, and he was just coming on to her in the most awkward way. I knew she felt uncomfortable. And I had to put an end to it. And I said, dude, she isn't really enjoying this. Why don't you just shut up? This is like 2 months before his TV show becomes the biggest thing. And I'm telling it, and I'm going, I swear to God, I'm actually just going to punch you. I said that. And in fact, it's the day that I post a picture of Seinfeld, Julian Lennon, John Lennon's son, and I on Facebook. That's there now. You can see it now still. That's the actual day. And but I mean, I got into and he argued with me. "Who are you to tell me who I can talk to?" And I was like, "Well, dude, you're like a predator. What you're doing is wrong. She's a sweetheart. She's obviously not interested." "Well, how do you know?" I said, "Seriously, I'm gonna punch you." Jerry Seinfeld. So that was.
And you still got like about at least another 20 minutes in the limo with this guy plus the ride back?
No, it was more like 50 minutes. I swear to God, it was silence.
Because
he started that crap at the beginning. She's really attractive, very sweet. We were all friends with her. And then the third was just recently. I think it was in the last year. Jeremy Piven is now doing comedy. The actor Jeremy Piven.
I've heard stories about him.
Well, we had him on the show. I guess this is before COVID hit, and we still had guests in the studio.
Right.
Probably right around the time that you were coming through Indianapolis. And we had Jeremy Piven on because he was doing helium. And you know what? All the stories are true. He couldn't have been if we were even talking in the local commercials. And he goes, "Why aren't we talking about me in the show and on the air?" And we all just shut down on him. I've never seen anyone he was so unfunny. And during the break, Tom had said to me, "Hey, we got to turn this around. Can you do like a Jeremy parody, like a Jeremy, like a Pearl Jam thing, and get him like?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do something." And even that he got real pissy with. There was nothing funny about his presentation, and I don't know. He even said on the air when Tom was making some jokes and stuff. He goes, "Really? Is this what you guys do? Is this what you think radio is?" And he's busting the show that he's on. And he just tanked his whole interview. I've never seen anyone come in with such an attitude. Yeah.
How long was he on the air with you guys? That had to be just brutal.
All of us felt that it was brutal early. And Tom, the gracious individual that he is, he let it go. He let it go longer than it probably should have. And he was nice the whole time. And we just shut down. All of us just went, fine. I've never really seen anyone come in wanting to have people like you and laugh at your stuff.
Right.
So unlikable.
That's brutal.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're in a ton of markets and you have fans everywhere. And we all know, I mean, I was in radio, certainly not to the extent of your career. And certainly, I mean, I was in like a station in a market, but we all have those goofy radio stalker stories. Give me your best one.
I'll give you the most recent one because there's lots of them. People have an intimate relationship with the radio, and then now that you put the visual to it, you get people that you're in their living room now, you're in their car, you're a part of their life, and it's
years ago it was nice because you could have the anonymity. Now they can go online and they can watch you. So now, it's that weird element of it's almost like you're on TV.
Yeah, there was a person from Oklahoma and who you can get to people through their DMs and you can say nice things. You can get to people through Facebook, and so I really enjoy your work. And then you have to say thank you and be gracious, and I would say thank you and gracious. And then maybe certain articles of clothing come off in this modern era, and you're like, whoa. And then you kind of like, if that's not your thing and you're not having that kind of relationship, don't get me wrong, naked women are beautiful, but I just thought, oh, I didn't see that going there that quickly, and so I severed my communication because it just made me feel uncomfortable. I swear to God, and that really bothered this person. I had to block them. They found me through emails. Oh, I did not mean to overstep my boundary. I love your work and blah. This song is my favorite. That song, oh, I can't wait for the new album to come out. And I just said, yeah, it was a little weird. And I performed in December here in Indianapolis, and my son is with me, and we go to the bathroom, and we have our masks on, and we're like, I'm shuffling to the bathroom, keeping him safe, and Jimmy in the bathroom goes, "Did you see that really weird girl that was sitting at the bar? She was like staring a hole through me and you." And I went,
"This is your son?"
My son goes as we're going in the bathroom.
Why are you making your son sound like he's one of Whitey Bulger's henchmen?
No, Jimmy was creeped out by this.
That was just a great voice you used. Hey,
yeah,
Dad.
Yeah.
Why is that creepy lady staring at us?
Hey, that creepy lady staring at us. No, he doesn't sound like that. He has a much sweeter voice than that. It takes years and years to sound like this.
Oh yeah, it takes years of abuse.
He goes. That woman is staring a hole right through us. And I said, well, I will pay attention to who that is on the way back. And I walk him back, mask, and I just take a little look to the right. And I'm like, you're not telling me this person from so far away, a 14-hour drive, is at the show. And I immediately felt, I didn't know, I felt bad for her. I thought, well, geez, that's one hell of a fan. And maybe I should say something, and I didn't end up saying anything. I whisked Jimmy out a different way when we were done, and we drove home. And I did get the email. I didn't block the email. And I was at the show tonight, and you were so good. Maybe we can finally meet someday, and I'll be at this particular show. Those shows got canceled, of course. But when I had that experience and had someone drive that far, I realized like the power of radio. You can even be politely dismissive and still have someone go to the ends of the earth to see what you're doing because they have that relationship with it.
Well, and I tell anybody, I go, listen, if you want to ever see a movie that'll creep you out to this day,
the Clint Eastwood movie, right?
Play Misty for me. Yep. Clint Eastwood, play Misty for me. All you got to do is pull it up on demand, watch it, and go, wow. And that is exactly what can happen.
Everybody in radio, Tom has that same story that I have just now in spades. I mean, he's got 10 of those. Chick has those.
Oh,
Josh
I can imagine.
has those now.
Yeah.
And it's easier for people to reach you and compliment you, and then they compliment you in a way where they actually are fans because they mentioned something specific, and then all of a sudden it's boobs and bras, and what the everybody. When I was in my 20s, we weren't getting like, you didn't meet somebody and have her hand you a picture. Hey, by the way, here's a picture of me naked. Now it's just like, holy moly.
Yeah, now it's just instant. Hey, look at me.
Yeah.
Well, you got your new album project coming out here that you had recorded with, like you said, a bunch of Mellencamp's band.
Yeah, in fact, we got Larry Crane, who was the guy who played on Jack and Diane and Hurt So Good. We got the original guitar player. And then, of course, Mellencamp's current backing band that he tours with. They all live in our area and work out of the Static Shack where we record. Bob and Tom has its own recording studio. So last March, I started this project. We did the song Another Load came in, Fat Elvis, and Nobody Has Pubes Anymore, which won a contest a year ago. One of my new favorites. And they played on 3 of those. And then I did some solo things and then we got a big band in and different drummer on a few other things. And then we did this big, wonderful Americana song that closes the album called Wasted of Viagra with Larry Crane, the original Jack and Diane acoustic guitars that he plays on Jack and Diane.
Yeah.
And so we have a real Americana. I mean, it's me singing. It doesn't sound like John Mellencamp, but the band is very Americana Mellencamp. And it's a wonderful song. And these guys just, I cannot wait for this. This is the best thing I've ever been a part of.
So it's all comedy?
These are all original comedy songs. Okay. But there are some that are, some that, you know, we're not, like the Wasted of Viagra, for example, isn't jokey. It's just clever, hopefully, and funny. It's
a great song title. It's hilarious.
Yeah, no, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. These are songs. These are the best songs, the original songs that I've done on the air. The ones that have gone over the best. There's a song called Tinnitus about my ear ringing problem with violins. This is like my Abbey Road Sgt. Pepper of comedy, and we didn't do it with a laugh track, a live audience, or right. I didn't use live cuts. On my last album, I had half studio and half live cuts. This I made so that you could listen to it over and over again, and it doesn't burn out as easily as normal comedy music does, because it's just so well produced by Alan Johnson and Tom Griswold, of course, from the Bob and Tom Show.
Now, what's the name of the album again?
It's called Out of Storage.
Out of Storage. It's going to be coming out. What do you have the exact date that it's going to be released? Or can people just go on your website to find it or follow you on social media?
Things are so different now. I think we're probably looking at the end of March, because next week we finalize the mixes. It goes through a little bit of a process now.
Sure.
And, you know, just tightening things up and mastering. All the recording was done last Saturday, and honest to God, it's taken a year. It's been my Sgt. Pepper's.
Man, I am so happy for you. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. People need to go on patgodwin.com, see all of your albums. You've got your website's built fantastic. I mean, it makes it insanely easy for people to pull up songs and download stuff.
Cool.
Please check out all of his releases. Listen to him on the Bob and Tom Show. And my friend, see you live in person here very, very soon. And I'm, again, very happy for your success. And I know this new album is going to kill it for you, buddy.
You too. You're an ambitious guy, and keep at it. And hopefully, this is a crazy year. Will come to a close soon. In other words,
yeah, we need to get together soon, my friend. Absolutely,
absolutely.
Take care, bud. We'll see you soon. PatGodwin.com. You're awesome, pal.
Listening to A Drink with Derek. Find out when Derek is appearing near you by checking out DerekRichards.com. See you next time for A Drink with Derek.